So just a short time ago, just a few minutes ago, President Trump speaking on this, Ukraine agreeing to a 30-day ceasefire in return for U.S. weapons. So that is the headline here from the Telegraph. Ukraine agrees to 30-day ceasefire in return for U.S. weapons. Okay, how's this all going to play out? So let's just read through this report from the Telegraph just a few minutes ago. Ukraine has said it's ready to agree to a proposed 30-day ceasefire after the U.S. said it would resume weapons shipments. The U.S. will immediately lift the pause on intelligence sharing and resume security assistance to Ukraine, the country said in a joint statement. So my question is, why do you need that part of it? If you're agreeing to a ceasefire, that means no more bombs, no more killing. Why do you need U.S. intelligence to allow you to target targets and kill Russians? See how this doesn't really make it. And also, why do you, if we're agreeing to a ceasefire, why do you need more of our weapons? Ukraine also expressed readiness to accept the U.S. proposal to enact an immediate interim 30-day ceasefire, which can be extended by mutual agreement of the parties and which is subject to acceptance and concurrent implementation by the Russian Federation. The United States will communicate to Russia that Russian reciprocity is the key to achieving peace. Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, dictator, said Ukraine accepted the U.S. proposal for a complete 30-day ceasefire. He said the Ukrainian delegation had proposed silence in the sky, missiles, bombs, long-range drones, silence at sea, but the U.S. had suggested the ceasefire stretch to the entire front line of the war. Ukraine accepts this proposal. We consider it positive. We are ready to take such a step. The United States of America must convince Russia to do this, he said. So now President Trump takes this to Russia. Here is Marco Rubio just a few minutes ago.
Today, we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. I want to personally thank, we both want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, for hosting us, for making this possible. They've been instrumental in this process, and we're very grateful to them for hosting us here today. And hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
Okay. So again, I just don't understand why part of the agreement you need weapons. You need American weapons, and you need our intelligence sharing so that you can target. But remember, they can't target anything without the help of the United States. Targeting, launch of HIMARS, launch of any of it, they cannot do it without the help of the United States intelligence sharing. That was the pressure. Trump pulled that card about a week ago when he stopped sharing the intelligence with for the CIA and also military tracking. So guess what? Then they couldn't target anything. That's what pushed them to the table. Do we trust them that now we're going to start sharing that? They're not going to start shelling civilians again in Donbass and Donetsk? They've been carrying out a genocide there for 10 years, killing innocent civilians in what was Eastern Ukraine. It's no longer part of Eastern Ukraine because you were killing everyone there. Like today, I just drove around. There's all these Ukrainian flags popping up again. Have you noticed that? I was driving around the neighborhood. I saw a freaking Ukrainian flag. I was like, what the hell? Are we back to this again? It's madness.
So what doesn't make sense to me, so Ukraine agrees to the ceasefire so they can stockpile more U.S. weapons. Why the hell would Russia, what is Russia getting out of that?
Again, Russia, yeah. We talked multiple times on this show. Russia's in the driver's seat. There is no ceasefire that involves Ukraine having their military being built up. That's not part of this. There is no Putin doesn't have to negotiate with Ukraine at all. Game over. So that little cocaine sniffing troll, who's not a legally elected president of Ukraine, a dictator, and also Putin has said he's not going to negotiate and have any peace agreement signed with someone who's not an elected leader of Ukraine. So does part of this actually include Ukraine holding elections? Who's going to sign this agreement, a final peace agreement, where we don't go back into war 3 weeks later? Because Putin has said openly it's not going to be Zelensky. Maybe Putin will concede that point in this. I don't know. It's a fluid situation. Here's what question I have, though. Will you, as part of this, and I would love to ask Rubio this question, but the administration is on lockdown. They're not doing independent media interviews right now. They're only allowing them to do Fox News interviews, it seems. So you have to be fully in the tank for Trump in order to get an interview with these people right now, apparently. So, but I would love to ask Rubio, hey, your Secretary of State, do you know there are American journalists, independent journalists, on a Ukrainian kill list? Can you remove those American journalists from your kill list, Zelensky, please? Because we just learned deeply troubling information about Jamie White, who was a reporter at InfoWars, who was murdered at his house in Austin, Texas yesterday. And when the team from InfoWars went to find him, they just found blood all over the parking lot and he was murdered. Well, Jamie White posted this back in June. Says, I'm on the Ukrainian enemies list due to my work at InfoWars on the Ukrainian proxy war. The group who compiled this list is tied to the U.S. State Department, USAID, the CIA, and George Soros. He's listed right there on the Ukrainian. So, hey, Marco Rubio, as part of this agreement, can you make sure that American journalists aren't being assassinated at their homes? And I'm not saying that we know that this has anything to do with that. It could have just, we don't know. We don't know the full details. But this was just posted a short time ago and caught our attention for sure. So we'll be following this and the Ukrainian ceasefire here. What is Bunker? It's an uncompromised private messenger, together with a password manager, secure vault, and notes that work seamlessly together. High net worth families, law enforcement agents, professional athletes, journalists are using Bunker to protect their lives from surveillance, from cyber criminals, and other threats. They have private messaging and sharing, a password manager, a secure vault, a notes app, where you can keep, travel, business, private reflections, recipes, workouts, whatever you want in there, but it's all secure. Over 130 countries you'll find Bunker customers enjoying peace of mind, and they can travel with greater ease, having more energy to focus on what matters. So download Bunker now from the App Store. That's Bunkr. You can go to the Google Play Store or the App Store, or visit their website, bunker.life, and use the offer code Redacted to get 25% off. Live your life to the fullest. Protect what matters. Download Bunker today. Again, bunker.life is the place to go to grab it. So why is President Trump going to war with the very people that got him elected? It's not a good strategy, and it could backfire bigly. It's all because of the looming government shutdown and his arm twisting of Republicans for votes for this massive budget. He's been on the phone with Republicans. We spoke to members of Congress last week who told us, President Trump has been basically kind of making promises like, hey, vote for this because, we're going to get this under control down the line. But of course, they've been saying this about the continuing resolutions for the past year. You know what? Vote for it in September so we kick it down the line till December. You know what? Vote for it in December. We'll kick it down the line to March. Okay, now vote for it in March so we can kick it down the line to September again. See how this works? You just keep telling us you're going to keep doing that over and over and over again. It's hilarious. So anyway, overnight President Trump threatened to primary Kentucky Representative Thomas Massie for opposing the GOP budget. Massie said after looking at the massive wasteful spending, he's a hard no on this. We're not going to do this anymore. That led Trump to post this on Truth Social last night. Thank you to the House Freedom Caucus for just delivering a big blow to the radical left Democrats and their desire to raise taxes and shut our country down. They hate America and all it stands for. That's why they allowed millions of criminals to invade our nation. Sometimes it takes great courage to do the right thing. Congressman Thomas Massie, the beautiful Kentucky, is an automatic no vote on just about everything, despite the fact that he has always voted for continuing resolutions in the past. That's not true, actually. He should be primaried, and I will lead the charge against him. He's just another grandstander who's too much trouble and not worth the fight. He reminds me of Liz Cheney. Oh, God. So what's amazing is the response to this post, because I didn't know if it was possible or not, but Trump got ratioed big time. MAGA independents, MAGA loyalists who love Trump were pissed off. They're like saying, no. Back off, Mr. President. Like, no. That's a bridge too far. You do not go after Thomas Massie. overwhelmingly, Trump supporters were like, "This is a crap move, sir." I mean, you have the people who, no matter what, are always in the tank for Trump. You know that, you know who they are. They will always be. But there are many tens of thousands of people came out and said, this is a huge mistake. You're going to lose our support. We voted for you because of cutting wasteful government spending, because we stand by people like Thomas Massie. Real conservatives, of course, support Massie for standing up to wasteful government spending, not taking money from foreign lobbyist groups. So memes have exploded on X like this. Here's one that Massie posted also. Said, "Sir, they all love Representative Thomas Massie." And then here's, sir, they all loved, like, giving you some advice there. We didn't think this didn't go as well as we thought. And then here's Harrison Smith. Literally every post on my timeline is supporting Massie. Harrison Smith says, Kevin Sorbo, "Thomas Massie is a patriot and a fighter. We stand with you." TJ Roberts, "MAGA loves Thomas Massie," just on and on. And then there's people been spreading like lies and made up stuff about his voting record and stuff. But that's how these things spread really quickly. One man who's been going after the deep state for a long time is Ivan Reichland. He says it's clear why the deep state is trying to drive a wedge between Trump and Massie, because Massie has been trying to take this down, and he explains it here. So this is really interesting. Watch.
Bottom line here is that the deep state members of the deep state target list, I'm going to name who they are behind putting a wedge and removing Thomas Massie. Well, guess what? Why are they doing that? It's because he's the only one that's in the position to expose remember when he was on Tucker Carlson talking about how everyone has a handler, AIPAC handler? Match that up with any relationships with folks that are on the Epstein client list. Maybe Thomas Massie is in a position to expose that. Additionally, wasn't it Thomas Massie that exposed and was very zealous about going after the January 6th pipe bomber? Would that then expose Nancy Pelosi, her involvement in the January 6th Fedsurrection? Paul Ryan, former Speaker of the House, and his involvement in the Fedsurrection and subsequent cover-up? And then maybe other top prominent Republicans. So it's interesting to know that a lot of these things, are interrelated. And I suspect that the reason why they're trying to take out Tom Massie is because he was the only one that was right on COVID. He called for the vote on the plandemic, the $2 trillion electoral heist, the $2 trillion that was used by Nancy Pelosi to pay off everybody that was going to and did steal the 2020 election.
Yeah. So wonder why. Wonder why they don't like him. Here's Thomas Massie's tweet. He says, this tweet from Trump's account is very misleading. He said, "I never voted for a CR that became law. I did vote for a CR under Kevin McCarthy that included an 8% cut to all discretionary spending. But unfortunately, that CR did not become law. Do your research and you'll find I've been consistent." But people are too lazy to do their research. Of course, they're too lazy to do their research on this. And so they just parrot what like one big influencer who got an Epstein binder at the White House had to say on Twitter. So they parrot these things. They don't actually understand and do their own research. Here's Massie again. "Someone thinks they can control my voting card by threatening my reelection. Guess what? Doesn't work on me. 3 times I've had a challenger who tried to be more MAGA than me. None busted 25% of support because my constituents prefer transparency and principles over blind allegiance." And that's really what you're seeing here. Where, Trump's leadership on this could have said to Speaker Johnson, "We are done." Can you imagine Trump on television? No, Mr. Speaker. Get all the Republicans in line. We are done kicking the can down the road on these CRs. We're done kicking the can down the road on these continuing resolutions. We're not going to do it until September. We're not going to kick it again down to December. We're going to fix it now. He's got the mandate of the American people. You could have done it right now. So now you're going after Thomas Massie? So both Rand Paul, Senator Paul, and Massie said they would vote against the GOP budget because it does not cut spending. Their point is this: why cut all of this government waste only to bring on more government waste? Massie said this about it. The argument for this continuing resolution in September was to fight in December 2024 after the election. The argument for the CR in December was to fight for into March of 2025 after the inauguration. The argument for the CR now in March 2025 is to fight in September 2025 because we're not ready yet. Massie also pointed out the hypocrisy of Doge. So this is, to me, the biggest sticking point here. All of these Republicans are getting so excited about all the cuts in Doge, myself included. But now you're voting in a continuing resolution in the CR to basically vote for the exact same stuff you're cutting in Doge? It makes zero sense. Journalist Sagar Anjaneti was at the White House briefing room just a short time ago this afternoon, and he asked this question of Carolyn Levitt. Why is Trump going after Massie?
President Trump came out today in a primary challenge against Congressman Thomas Massie. Congressman Massie's been a supporter of Doge. He's been a supporter of Make America Healthy Again. What kind of message is this White House sending against a congressman who's sticking up for principles that he's long held in the chamber and voting against continuing resolution and spending?
I think the president has made it very clear that he believes it's critical for conservatives and Republicans and, frankly, all members of Congress to get behind this continuing resolution to keep the government funded. The president wants to continue the momentum that he has built over the last 51 days. In order to keep the government funded, we got to keep moving with these deportations, and he believes that everybody needs to get on board with this bill. He's been active in this process. He's been making calls to get this over the finish line, and we're urging every Republican and Democrats, too, to do what's right for the American public to prevent a government shutdown.
Yeah. So if the House budget does not pass, the government faces a shutdown by Friday, of course. And then Massie posted this. POTUS is spending his day attacking me and Canada. The difference is Canada will eventually cave, which is probably true to that. By the way, Massie isn't the only one. I should point out it's Massie, Representative Kate Kamek and Beth Van Dunn of Texas also have been raising concerns about the continuing resolution. So I'm not sure where they come down yet on their voting yet. So I know all the focus has been on Massie, but we will focus on that. You know what? Let's bring in Chris Rossini now. He is co-host of the Liberty Report over there at the Ron Paul Institute. And Ron Paul, just a few minutes ago, Chris, posted a long video basically saying, why are you going after this guy? Remember, Massie was the one guy who stood up against the COVID tyranny and the $2 trillion boondoggle. And, you know, Ron Paul said, here we go again, once again, going after people who are trying to cut spending in Washington and trying to paint them as a villain here. What, you know, is he right?
Yeah. Why? It was last night when I saw Trump's message. I couldn't believe it because it was deja vu. Trump did the same exact thing during the COVID fiasco. Massie was heroically standing up, trying to get these people to come in and vote for the greatest heist, the greatest transfer of wealth, as Massie put it, of all time. And Trump lambasted him back then in 2020. He's calling him a third-rate grandstander and a disaster for America. And now he's doing it again, just simply because one man is willing to just stand on his principles. And comparing,
we need more. I'm going to say it right now. We need more men like Thomas Massie who will stand on principles. Yeah, and you're right. And comparing him to Liz Cheney, warmonger, Liz Cheney, who wants to basically go to war with Iran, you know, daughter of warmonger and Halliburton, Dick Cheney. Really? Come on.
No, it was absurd. And Massie. He's one that won't bend, and Trump knows the power of that. That was the power of DeSantis in Florida. He was the one state that would buck the trend, and he ruined it for all of them. So, and Trump himself, they call him literally Hitler. People love the fact that he stood up against that. And now Trump is using that tactic of calling him Liz Cheney because he knows that with Massie on the side, now the Republicans are going to have a little bit of pressure on their master plan that they call it. And Republicans have, they're always a disappointment. And Massie knows that. And he's obviously confident enough to be the one guy to say, I don't believe this plan that you have. You're just going to find some other excuse come September to kick the can down the road again.
Yeah. So can you talk about, I know we talk about the grandstanding, the Liz Cheney stuff, and for people whose heads are spinning right now, trying to understand, like, Why specifically is Massie saying no to this? Like, what is in this spending boondoggle that the American people vote? And by the way, they voted for Trump because they're sick of this spending. So what is in here that's so nefarious?
I personally haven't looked in it myself, but obviously Massie and his staff know all of the details. So it must be bad enough. I know that the spending is, he keeps saying this is Biden level spending. We're just going to keep the Biden stuff going. And that's not what we went through this big election to have Trump to change things. And Doge is changing things. But you know what the thing about Doge that I've noticed is they're going after, it's sort of partisan at this point. They're going after great stuff, USAID, Department of Education. This is all lefty stuff. And all the Republican stuff is not being touched. When you see Senator Ernst getting on board, well, let's cut the military empire, and we'll see how excited Senator Ernst will be about Doge then. And so that's, so far it's just a partisan thing. And what we need is both parties, because both parties got us to this point to be mad at Doge, and we're not seeing that. And I understand Elon has to work with what he has. I'm sure he would cut everything if he could, but this is a Republican administration. But if Doge only ends up being something that just went after the pets of the Democrats, then that's a big disappointment because, A, that's not going to get us out of this trouble, and that's not what Americans voted for.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shell game with Doge, it's like, hey, look over here at the shiny objects that we have at Doge. We're cutting USAID, we're cutting circumcision in Uganda, we're cutting transgender parades in Guatemala, whatever we're doing. But at the same time, Republicans are lining up for this massive spending and kicking the can down the street once again. I mean, I think the American people are sick and tired of it. And of course, Massie always refers to it as a uniparty. And I think, not to parrot him, but we here on the show call it a uniparty. I mean, the Republicans and Democrats are both corrupt. And so you have like one or two that are standing up and saying, we're not voting for this. We're done with this. To me, it's bravery, but they're in a small minority, aren't they?
Yeah, and it really is a uniparty. If a person looks at the spending and debts, going back through history, look at a chart, it's Republicans and Democrats. It all goes in one direction. There's no give and take. There's no pull where Republicans get in and, oh boy, look how limited government has become. Look how small government has become. It's not. I mean, the Republicans, there's a saying that the Democrats are stupid and the Republicans are evil. They're evil because they appeal to people's good instincts. Look at us. We're going to cut your taxes. We're going to get government down to the size. And they do the exact opposite every time. So we're on the verge of it happening once again, and at least Massie is putting up some resistance.
Chris Rossini, co-host of the Liberty Report with Ron Paul. Again, Ron Paul coming to Massie's defense this afternoon. Was great to see that, saying this is craziness. You have one person standing up saying enough of this spending, and you're going to attack that person. So, it's crazy. Chris, great to see you. Thanks as always.
Thank you, Clayton.
Hey, I want to thank our friends over at Rumble Premium, by the way. Rumble defends free speech, and you can sign up for Rumble Premium for just $10, or very, very cheap. You can save $10 off their annual plan. So when major advertisers are conspiring to pull their dollars, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turn their backs, calling Rumble, claiming that Rumble had a right-wing culture. But we're not here to fit a mold at all. We're here to defend free expression. And we're proud to partner with Rumble Premium. Completely ad-free experience. Exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. You'll find exclusive content from our friends like Russell Brand, Dr. Disrespect, Timcast, the Mug Club, all of them. Your voice matters. So when you join Rumble Premium, for a limited time, you get $10 off their annual plan using the promo code Redacted. Just visit rumble.com/premium /redacted and claim your discount today. Using the promo code Redacted, get $10 off. So thank you for watching us on Rumble as well as YouTube. But if you want to support free speech even more, you can do that with the Rumble Premium plan as well. All right, let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard now. Director of National Intelligence says that she has revoked the security clearance of 51 former senior intelligence officials who signed a letter declaring that the Hunter Biden laptop was a Russian information operation. along with many powerful people. They include Antony Blinken, pervert Antony Blinken, former National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Lisa Monaco, Mark Zaid, Norma Eisen, who represented the House Judiciary Committee during the impeachment trial, Letitia James, Attorney General, District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who brought the Stormy Daniels hush money case to trial, Andrew Weissman, who was one of the lead investigators in the Mueller investigation. Director Gabbard also directed the president's daily brief that is no longer being provided to President Biden. Can you imagine Biden sitting through that every day? Like they got to, like he's even reading it. He's just sitting there with his oatmeal. Many of these people have done odious things, to be sure, but many odious people still have security clearances. And Edward Snowden wrote about this in his book, by the way, called it in his book, The Permanent Record. He said that there's basically a security clearance economy in Washington, D.C., that it drives Washington, D.C., Edward Snowden said. He says that having a security clearance is practically a prerequisite for getting a job. Any job, not just in the intelligence or defense. He described it as a golden ticket to work in Washington, D.C., not just in government and intel work. Everyone from security guards to IT support this need. And it's just punishment. So is this just punishment for lying to the American people, or is this political retaliation? Many of them are lawyers, so they might actually sue Tulsi Gabbard and the government. We'll see about that. Let's talk about Syria now. I've been watching this unfold, of course, what's been happening in Syria, the genocide that's been happening in Syria by the CIA and Biden-backed ISIS terrorists, former Al-Qaeda, whatever you want to call them, now rebranded as HTS, as Dan Cohen likes to call them, Pal-Qaeda. Because we funded these guys. Don't make no mistake about it. Israel and the United States funded these guys, armed them, friends with them, used them to carry out this mission of overthrowing Assad in Syria. Small part of the plan. Syria was once one of the most peaceful countries in the world. Not anymore, not until Obama got his hands on it and decided to undermine it, fake a whole chemical gas attack in Douma, which has been widely debunked. We now know that was all faked in order to overthrow Assad. But President Trump called this out 10 years ago. See, on this show, I can be critical of Trump 1 minute and I can be praising him another minute. See, we're not in the tank for anybody on this show. So 10 years ago, President Trump said this, and he was 100% correct about the mistake of arming these thugs, arming these people to go in and overthrow Assad. Watch him 10 years ago on CNN.
So I've watched Assad, and I've watched a little bit on the other side. The problem is the other side of Assad, we have no idea who they are. They probably are ISIS. I'm saying, are we better off with Assad? We have no idea who these people are. We give them weapons, we give them ammunition, we give them everything. Aaron, we have no idea who, I mean, maybe it's worse than Assad. So what are we doing? Why are we involved? We have to get rid of ISIS, very importantly. But I look at Assad, and Assad, to me, looks better than the other side. And, you know, this has happened before. We back a certain side, and that side turns out to be a total catastrophe. Russia likes Assad seemingly a lot. Let them worry about ISIS. Let them fight it out.
Yeah, amazing, right? We don't know these people. We know Assad has protected Christians, Muslims, kept Christians safe. Is he the greatest guy in the world? Who knows? He didn't gas his own people in Douma. We know that was debunked and faked by the by the Obama administration. We know the white helmets were all faked. We know how the money from USAID flowed in there. Go ahead, Phillips. You say something?
I was just going to say that exact thing, that the white helmets were actually funded through USAID. Because right. I think I'd sent you that letter that they posted that was like, hey, we ran out of money.
Yeah, it's amazing. So he even said the same thing to Hillary Clinton during a debate. Watch.
Now, she talks tough. She talks really tough against Putin and against Assad. She talks in favor of the rebels. She doesn't even know who the rebels are. You know, every time we take rebels, whether it's in Iraq or anywhere else, we're arming people. And you know what happens? They end up being worse than the people. Look at what she did in Libya with Gaddafi. Gaddafi's out. It's a mess. And by the way, ISIS has a good chunk of their oil. I'm sure you probably have heard that. It was a...
Yeah, exactly. So all of the bidding that you did for your Israeli friends who wanted Gaddafi out, wanted Saddam Hussein out. So the last one now... So now you got Syria, you took care of Syria now for your Israeli friends. The last one that Israel wants to destroy and take down is Iran. And they're actively planning to go to war in Iran. So again, are we going to go through this all over again? A complete disaster for these neocons and warmongers in Washington? It looks like we are.